Hey everybody, this is Lee, and with me is Charles Traynor. Hi Charles, I'm gonna be doing sippin'. How are you today?
Sippin', and I'm assuming that's the name of the show today, Sippin' with Lee and Charles.
Yep.
And we are going to review the cheapest wines on the planet. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, and what album are we doing today?
That's more my style, the cheap wines. That's not Lee's style. This is the Knack. Get the Knack. And I have to say, this was something I said probably over a year ago. So when Lee randomly hit me out of nowhere and said, hey, we should do Get the Knack. I was like, fuck yeah, of course. Because, I recommended this a long time ago. The album was dropped in 79. I was 5 years old. Lee was probably realistically 13, but he was actually 35 in terms of musical development at that time.
I was 0 or less in mentally, but musically maybe 35.
Musically, no. Yeah, I'd go with that. And, interesting little side note here. And no, I wouldn't recommend to review it because it's a novelty record. But that same year, I don't know if you're a Chipmunk family at all, or
not really
them from your youth, but they put out an album called Chipmunk Punk. Well, I was 5 years old, so of course I
heard about it.
One, there's no punk songs. Two, almost said three. Two, there are 3 Knack songs from this album on that Chipmunk Punk, which at that time, to be quite honest, that's probably how I heard the songs other than the big hit, which we'll get into when we do the review. I do know at the time we had this in our house on vinyl and audio cassette. So it was a huge album, 79. I would say, right, Lee? I don't remember 79 as well as maybe you might. But the Knack was kind of a big deal.
Yep.
When it dropped. Right?
Actually what happened was I got it when it first came out. That was how good it was. Or that was how good I thought it was. I saw My Sharona, and or I heard My Sharona, and I thought to myself, oh, that's a cool song. And so then I got the album and I was like, ooh, this is a cool album.
Yeah.
And
now, I have read up on them. I mean, now the sound of their stuff, for the most part, I don't care if you go from this album to the next. This is the only album that really did very well by them. The rest of them were either. Well, I mean, the follow-up was disappointing, but it did well. It still did well.
The follow-up people at least heard of. Nobody even knew that they did a third album. And it was only until relatively recently that I realized they actually did a fourth.
And I think they've done more than 4. They did a remix of one of their albums.
Yeah.
So Lord knows
they
didn't stop trying. Yeah, Lord knows they didn't stop trying.
Yeah.
They definitely tried and kept at it. But, the band was, this time, is Doug Fager. He's from, and the only one I think that wasn't from L.A. He had moved to L.A. at that point.
Yeah.
His brother was known to be the lawyer for Jack Kevorkian. Did you know that? That was an interesting little.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, his older brother was an attorney of some note in Detroit and represented Jack Kevorkian in his days. But I guess Fager was just a rock guy, and that's all he was. And then he met Burton. I think it's Avare. Avare? I don't know how you pronounce his last name. If we say it wrong, we're just going to call you Mr. Burton. How about that?
Yeah.
We'll keep it simple. Met him, and he's a guitar player. They did a lot of co-writing together.
Yeah.
The drummer, I'll get to his name later in the review. And I know the bass player was named Prescott Niles.
Yeah.
He was the last one to join, but
yeah.
Apparently there was a huge bidding war over this group. They eventually settled with Capitol. They actually, and I know I don't know how many records you personally have right now, but they actually wrote it in their contract because they signed with Capitol to have the old school Capitol rainbow display on the vinyl on that, on the track listing part.
Yeah, they did have that.
They went that far with it. And the front cover looks like Meet the Beatles or With the Beatles, and the back cover looks like Hard Day's Night. And so, because of the fact they were compared to as a Beatles ripoff right from the get-go, and apparently they had a bad attitude towards the press at the time. They just seem to be here today, gone tomorrow, and
yeah,
it's just the craziest thing to me. It's really crazy. But as far as the sound of most of their stuff that I've heard, it's for me. It is very Beatles for the most part.
Yeah,
a lot of it. And I'm an Oasis fan, so come on. I'm gonna love stuff like this. But they also said they were like I read where they're kind of credited with ushering in new wave at the same time. I don't really hear a lot of new wave in their music, but I guess. And then, and to be fair, I don't think back then, like the Romantics, What I Like About You, would have been out around the same time, correct? I believe. They're a big song. What I Like About You.
I liked that song, and then I got their album, and I liked another song of theirs too, and maybe a third. And then the rest of the album I didn't care for, and I had maybe a couple of their others that I felt close to the same about, except I only liked maybe a half song off of each. Except I did kind of like the song Talking in Your Sleep, which was on an album I did not have.
Well, the Romantics would have came out the next year, but it's still close enough. I don't think they were that stylistically that much different from the Knack.
No.
But apparently the Knack didn't play nice with the industry, the media, and they got them. And there's a huge reason why they were able to get nailed by that industry. And it's all over these songs. And Lee had already mentioned My Sharona. Sharona was a real person. It was his neighbor. She was 17 years old at the time, and she was definitely the muse for the majority of this album. And that made it very easy ammunition for haters to come after them for that.
Yeah.
But and a good thing was, we'll say, I think it was a good thing. They didn't form. I know it's a good thing. They did date. But after she had turned 18, that's both of their stories. They're sticking to it. But they moved on. And like you said, Feger got married to somebody else. And unfortunately, he passed away a few years back, right?
Some years ago. I forget how many, but yeah.
It was a couple years ago. And Sharona visited him quite often in his illness. So they stayed friends.
That's cool.
But she was a huge influence on this album. And that second album, she's actually on the cover of it. So
I remember what that looks like.
It made it easy fodder for people to come after them when grown men are talking about teenage girls throughout the songs. But we'll get into that.
It didn't bother me.
It didn't bother me either, but I was 5 and you were 13.
Yeah.
But I have a hypothesis of what they were trying to do, but maybe I'm wrong. Might be justification, I don't know. But other than that, if you got anything more add to it, Lee, I'm ready to roll, man.
Oh boy. I'm okay. It's just guessed, but who wants to start?
You can start.
Okay. The Knack, get the Knack, okay. All right. First song, Let Me Out. This is a great opening track. It's like a surprise birthday party when everyone jumps out of a giant cake and dances, and the birthday kid is happy and excited. It's a cool grooving tune that I dig. What do you think?
Well, we shoot right outside the barrel here, man, with a fairly energetic, uber poppy track. The reality of the situation is is what I would have probably, and I disagree mildly with you, Lee. I would have probably opened the album with a different track. But I can see why they did it, and I can see why you like it, because it does set the table pretty well. Very clean recording and excellent playing on the track from the band here. I could imagine this was also a decent track to hear live, and ironically,
Yeah.
I think it could be a good show opener.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just didn't know about it in this spot. I guess because the way it opens up, it just goes right into it.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but it's kind of jarring. You're right. It just kind of just goes right into it.
Yeah.
It's a good song, though.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't think it's astonishingly good, but it serves its purpose. So as far as an album cut, upper tier for me, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, it kind of, now that you think about it, would be like if the Beatles opened up with the song I Should Have Known Better, but they open up with and when I say I love you, and that was the beginning. It would sound like it would sound like if someone all of a sudden walked up to you and said, "So yeah, do you still think the same way about it?" And you're like, about what? And then, oh, I'm sorry, that was the other guy. Kind of like that.
Yeah. No, it's a cool song. I probably would have opened with, we'll get to the one when we get to it. But
Okay.
no, it's still a cool song.
All right. What do you think of Your Number or Your Name?
Well, Let Me Out had a slight Beatle feel to it. This one here is 100% Beatles. Bruce Gary, that's our drummer.
Yeah.
His drums slam pretty good here. Probably the first track thematically where maybe I'm looking at this as like half full, the glass half full, because I don't know if it's that great, but thematically, looking at it that way, the theme is something, and that's what I was saying earlier. I have a hypothesis about this album. I'm hoping that in part they wrote most of these songs because in a vein of the majority of early rock and roll, it was written for teenage boys who couldn't get laid.
Yeah.
Period. And that's what I assume most of this stuff is about. Because we're already in our first kind of like, ooh, maybe I need a shower song. I don't know. But I do look at it half full, and I do. I think it was kind of written in the vein of original rock and roll. And that's a standard rock trope anyway. So I enjoy this one. It can be a little too beatly for my pure enjoyment, though. I would prefer maybe a little slightly more original arrangement, but it's okay.
All right. It's an okay tune, but it isn't quite as impressive as the first song. But it has something going for it, and it's not a bad song, but not one of their best songs. Okay. Now for O Tara. Okay. I like this quite a bit. It's one of the better songs. I like the groove, and the guitar part is great. And it's both a deep track and a catchy tune. It's right on. What do you think?
Well, we could get the first pure original sounding track up to this point. Even though it still sounds retro at the same time. It's really odd. It doesn't really sound like a Beatles song, though. I guess that's what I'm going off of.
Yeah.
The bassist, Prescott Niles, he put down some great bass work here. And in the end, I think this one is interesting musically, but for some reason, this one falls a little flat for me. Just a hair. Seeger sounds bored on his vocal delivery, and that inspires nothing. Maybe it was good live. On the record here, I thought it fell flat.
Okay. You know what? I used to think that way. I used to, when I would listen to this album as I pretended to pick up my room, I would more actively try to pick up stuff from my room while this song was on. And then when the other songs came on, then I stopped and listened again while my mom would ask, "Are you picking up your room?" And I would be saying, after this song's over, yeah. Kind of like that. Anyway, okay. What do you think
I
of...
still feel that way. Well,
yeah. What do you think of She's So Selfish?
we get a variation of the Bo Diddley beat a bit here, and we also get some fairly raunchy lyrics. Sharana Alperin, I think that's how you pronounce her full name.
Huh.
We will revisit her again real soon here, but she was the apparent inspiration of the song. Interestingly, Streaming has a cleaned up version. They don't have the nasty lyrics. They wrote them, but they didn't. I guess there's 2 edits of the song. And, so far, this is the coolest one I've fucking heard. And also the most interesting sounding track this far. Sure, it's a tad bit misogynistic, but such is life. A choice listen here, I think. I like She's So Selfish quite a bit.
Okay, I put, it's decent. I think the beat could be spiced up a bit more, but overall, the song itself is fine, and I like it mostly. But it's not one of the best tracks on here. Okay, now for Maybe Tonight. It's not a typical song on here, and I ordinarily wouldn't like this type of song, but it's okay. I like some of the special effects on it, not all, but most. And even though I think it slows down the momentum of the album unnecessarily, as an individual song, it's decent. What do you think?
Well, this one came across as like a cross between the Beatles and Wings.
Huh.
You get the Beatle tape loops, but structurally very reminiscent of McCartney to me.
Huh. Yeah.
This one could be the most Beatley at this point. To include there, Mr. Burton, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, use of pedals on the guitar there to mimic sounds that George Harrison would have played. And it even has a mellotron. It's a generic ballad that the Beatles did way better in this style.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, it's not a skipper, which is crazy. It's just kind of there. That's all it is. It's just kind of there. It is the only ballad on the album.
Oh, wow.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
They don't like ballads too much, so they should be all about leaving.
What do you think of Good Girls Don't?
Was the second single. It was on Chipmunk Punk.
Huh.
Yeah.
Seems like a weird choice.
Kind of. I think they cleaned the lyrics up as I remember, though.
Okay.
Thank God.
Like Good Girls Don't Do Drugs or something.
Yeah, I don't think they did the sit on your face and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the second single, and it closes out side 1 of the vinyl. Another Beatles-inspired track, for sure, complete with harmonica. Played pretty well by Doug Figger, actually. Sounds like a Hard Day's Night era Beatles, a little bit, I think, kind of. Or maybe even like, Believe It or Not, Please Please Me. Whenever the harmonica was prevalent in Beatles music. And of course, lyrically, it's raunchy as hell. And again, I could be looking at it incorrectly, but I do feel that the vein is written in here. It's more reminiscent and not a contemporary attitude of figures at the time. This is written in a way that's what rock and roll music was about. Frustrated teens. And sure, you hurt when she sits on your face and it hurts. That's one of the lyrics, folks. And the Beatles never wrote about girls sitting on your face. Yeah. I love good girls. Good cut here.
All right, I put, it's halfway a good song. Maybe all the way it's good, but I only like about half of it. I think it's a bit too much in the same vein as Marshall Crenshaw, but it's not the worst song on the album. Okay, now for My Sharona. It's okay. Oddly enough, it's not my favorite on the album, but the guitar solo, especially the extended guitar solo, is great. So it's worth hearing for the guitar solo, but simply one of the decent, but not overly great tunes here. What do you think? I'm kind of going against what I used to think. But what do you think?
Well, we open side 2 with the main event of the evening. The reason why we are here.
Wow.
It's okay. The debut single.
Yeah.
And it was not only a #1 hit, but by the end of 1979, it was certified as the #1 single for all of 1979 by Billboard. Not that matters, but I mean, it's still pretty cool. Right?
It's why I bought the album, but now I say it's only okay. So who am I? Go on.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, this is a perfect song. It could be the one and only song that Knack did that perhaps the Beatles themselves could have been envious of. One is better than most. Song never gets old for me. Perfectly structured, perfectly sung. And for a brief moment in time, Mr. Burton could shred. Because his guitar solo is fantastic, especially that second one that you mentioned. It's fantastic. Holy shit, that's one of my favorite guitar solos ever. I ain't saying it's the greatest, but it's definitely up there. It's great solo.
Right on.
Definitely one of my favorite songs of all time. Has to be one of the best pop rock songs ever. Eat their fucking lunch, Cheap Trick. And best track on the album, and their best track ever of all time.
Huh.
So we obviously differ a little.
Well, but
it's a great song.
Respect what you say.
This is my Sharona, baby.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
All right. What do you think of Heartbeat?
We get a cover of a Buddy Holly track. Can we do any more Beatle-esque kind of stuff here, Lee? It wasn't really a Buddy Holly track. It was written by Bob Montgomery and Norman Petty.
Well, they were a part of his band.
Exactly. And, you probably would have known it sound-wise with this album, as it does fit perfectly. The band is great here again, even though I question the Beatle worship a little bit at this point. As they also, they did some Buddy Holly covers too. Words of Love stands out. A few more. So it's a short, little, decent track, but it don't seem that necessary, though.
All right. They play it really well, and I like it better than Buddy Holly's version. But it's still not one of my favorites on here. But it's not bad.
Thank God. I thought you were going to say that's their best song ever.
No. Anyway, Siamese Twins, The Monkey and Me. My favorite song on the album.
I'm not surprised.
I love the strange lyrics and the music. It's fantastic. In fact, me and my old friend, Nicholas Kent, we used to listen to it and we loved the lyrics. Anyway, it's my favorite type of song and I'm glad they did it. What do you think?
now I get the new wave thing. Because this is very new wave to me. Very new wave sounding track. And finally, and I think you have to agree with me, Lee, this is probably the most original sounding track on the whole album.
I won't say no.
I didn't hear the Beatles or the Who or the Stones do anything like this. And that's a good thing, by the way. I think that's his strength.
Maybe a little bit of the Motels, but no, I'm kidding. Anyway, go on.
No, that's fine. I'm not talking about new wave. Well, they came after the Knack.
Yeah.
And the Knack was little known secret. They were the godfathers of new wave. So Flock of Seagulls. Think the Knack.
Yeah. Motels came out a month after, and so. But anyway, go on.
It don't matter. They were before us. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Bruce Carey here. He should have taught Tommy Lee how to use a cowbell, right?
Yeah.
Because this cowbell work on here is Christopher Walken would have probably died and resurrected 3 times in the Saturday Night Skit if he'd heard this fucking cowbell. Well, I do enjoy, some of the elements here, even though I said I'm not surprised it's your favorite song.
Yeah.
I'm not. And I will say I re-listened to it after I took these notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I do see it as like a grower track.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so different from the rest of the album. And I do think it's still an album cut.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a grower. I think it will never replace My Sharon. I mean, that's pop perfection. But
no problem.
But as far as an original sounding something, because they didn't excel at original sounding, it's the best track of the original sounding songs, which is one.
That's cool.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. What do you think of Lucinda?
This one actually reminded me of the Who more than the Beatles.
Oh.
But with more elementary drumming, because you can't replace Keith Moon. So at least they mimicked someone else here. Really. I do have to continue to praise the rhythm section and Burton's guitar. They're great on this. Other than that, though, it's just a stock sounding track. It's forgettable, other than a thing or two, which would be the great work of the rhythm section and guitar work.
Okay, this is my other favorite song on the album. I love the melody and song structure, and it's somewhat complex in a way I like. Very much thumbs up. All right.
I liked it. This is an album cut, and he loved it. This is his second favorite.
Yeah.
So you fuckers go listen and prove who's wrong and comment.
Yeah. Well, the point is, our opinions will want. Okay. Maybe you are. Because back then I would have said what you said. But that's the thing. I'm not talking about how I thought back then. I actually hear these albums now, which is maybe wrong of me to do, but that's what I do every time I do a review.
Well, okay, fuckers out there, the 15, 16 people that are listening.
Yeah,
that's an interesting thing, right, Lee?
Yeah,
sometimes albums you may have listened to them at the moment, and then they become like heart songs.
Yeah.
Or let me tell you, see, when I do a review, I'm listening to it at that moment. I don't think about the past. I don't think about what I think.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
With the Knack, maybe, but. I still like Lucinda. I just don't know about second best song in the album.
Yeah, but that's what the fans can do, is they can listen and then they can tell us if they're.
Because I'm going to tell them
if they are. Oh, okay, yeah, whatever you want to do.
But I'm going to tell them what the proper second best track in the album is.
Yeah,
we haven't got there yet.
But at least if they have the ability to type more than one letter on a keyboard and they give us a comment. We can at least appreciate their effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put Lee Yay, Charles Nay. We're good. And
I sometimes agree with you more than me, but because I am me, I have to stick with how I feel. But anyway,
put a like and smash that share button. We're doing some freeform little love today on the show, but let's get to the next song.
Yeah, the next song. That's what the little girls do. Okay, this is one of the better songs on the album. It's like a Buddy Holly song that I like, which is an exception to what is usual. I give it my approval. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of opposite. At this point of the album, I could use a shower, as the obsession with the younger side is getting to be a bit much. And generic, boring, and pushes the creep factor a tad far for me at this point in the album. One of the weaker ones I heard.
All right. What do you think of the last song, Frustrated?
The second best track on the album. By far. The B-side, The Good Girls Don't. And yet another track inspired by Sharona. And damn, she really fired up on Doug Fager. That's what I gotta say. Infinitely better than the previous track. Probably a sleeper track right here. And one of the better rockin' tracks too. And as far as the album, overall an album one should check out.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a perfect album, but it has enough going on for it that is worth a moment of your time. The best track is My Sharona. Second is Frustrated. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay. It's one of the okay songs. Not the best, nor the worst, but okay. And it belongs on the album as such. So there you go.
Well, there's a live album, the Knack, called like Live in the House, Rock and Roll Fun or something. I don't know.
I haven't even heard of it.
And actually, the original drummer wasn't even in the band. It was done in 2002. So at this point, that drummer had already been gone.
Yeah.
But it was a decent one, and they played that song, the one I'm talking about right now. They didn't play Lucinda.
They didn't
play that. No.
Oh.
No, they know better than that.
Oh, maybe.
Actually, they didn't play Frustration. My bad. I forgot. The one they played, I liked it, but I was like, I would have played Frustration, and it would have been She's So Selfish.
Oh.
She's So Selfish in My Sharona.
Well, that's cool.
But I would have went with Frustrated. Really good song.
It's okay.
Slightly Rolling Stoney. Little speedily.
Frustrated. Shattered. Shattered.
Even though that album came out
Frustrated.
No, my bad. Emotional Rescue came out that year. 1979 was an awesome year of music.
I didn't know at that time when albums came out and what year they did. I was in a blur where I did not want to know how old I was. So about 10 years of time, there's songs I wrote 6 years after I wrote another song that had been earlier.
Lee, that summer, 1979, this did come out like in June, I believe, of 79.
Yeah.
That was my last pure summer of freedom. Because I started kindergarten that fall. That was a magical summer. The last summer of freedom. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go to school or job or nothing. You don't have to do shit.
Yeah,
just exist.
My first year of kindergarten was 1970, and it was my first year of hell. But anyway,
Exactly.
okay.
But that was in the fall of 7. when this came out in 1979, the summer, I was happy.
Oh, well, if it came out in the summer, then I was 13.
Yeah, this was a perfect summer type album. My Sharona leading it off, and it was a huge hit.
I used to listen to it a lot. The only complaints that I really had at that time was that it skipped, because I had a copy where no, sometimes albums had imperfect grooves, and I was listening to Let Me Out, and Let Me Out, come and let me out, go, and then and then I went, damn it! So I had to actually sit and put my thumb on the needle and do that about 10 times until I finally got to where it would play the whole way through. Yeah. But that was frustrating for me.
Well, I will say this much. Flash forward from 79, go about 12 years later, I had found the cassette, I think, at my uncle's house, and played in my car. And at that point, me and some of my buddies had discovered the old herbal jazz cigarettes.
Oh,
okay. Having a good time. Amongst other groups, and I know you're hit and miss on Kansas, probably more miss. But Kansas.
I won't answer.
Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Okay.
Fucking Foghat. A lot of 70s cool shit I could find, play for my buddies in school. We're all like 17. And this was one of them. The Knack. And they were like, what the fuck is that? The fucking Knack, man. How you not know the Knack? Right? And this is fucking great. I know. Compared to what you're listening to today. For sure. But, yeah, I was very fortunate to be around good people that had stuff. And I could play them these kind of things. And I was kind of ahead of my time. Now, if I was with Lee, I'd just be an underling. But my little town where I grew up, I knew a lot about music, so. I don't know anything about it now, folks. I don't even know why you listen to me. You should listen to Lee. Lucinda's the best track on the album, by far.
Actually,
that's the one everybody knows. They don't know My Sharona. Nobody knows that.
I'm getting to the point where I'm drunk enough where I want to believe you.
I mean, My Sharona. It was like nobody cared about that song.
No, I don't hate it.
It was crap.
It's okay. It's got a dub scrub a dub. Get your vitamin K and your olive wash.
Jokes aside, Burton Avere, if that's how you say his name.
I will say it like that.
Your guitar work on that track alone, sir, validates you for life.
Yep.
That makes the song. And he was fucking phenomenal on that track.
Yep.
And I wish he'd have done more of it. But, oh well. I mean, but he was perfect on that track. It was a perfect song. But it's not quite as good as Lucinda.
Well, I think so. I think it isn't.
It's not quite as good. It's just not.
But I will listen to both. But I will listen to Lucinda all the way through, and I will listen to My Sharona up until and including the guitar solo, and then I will take it off, maybe.
Oh, I listen to the whole thing from beginning to end, anytime it comes on.
Yeah, I know.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Well, there you go, folks. We challenge you.
I'm in old folks. Old folks don't know good albums. Old folks don't. But I do. Reality. No, you don't. But I do. No, you don't. I do.
Old folks must, because you liked it even more than I did.
What?
So, this album.
Okay, yeah.
So old folks do know. But this is a challenge for anybody watching. Tell me if Lucinda is a better track than My Sharona. There you go.
And think of it as far as just purely the song, not the actual media.
Yeah, listen to the song. So.
Yeah, especially those people who don't even know anything about the group The Knack, and they think that The Knack is the name of cereal with orange-colored bunny crunch.
And the sad part is definitely the first thing they think of when they hear the Knack is Lucinda. For sure. 100%. Across the world. That's the one I think of is Lucinda. But
the sad one, you said?
Oh yeah, they don't think about My Sharona. What is that shit? That's nothing. They think about Lucinda.
Yeah, well they should.
The best song on the album.
I think so.
And then part 2 of that challenge to the listeners is Lee's favorite song on the album, Monkey and Me.
Yeah.
The best song on the album? Or is it a grower like I said? The key is you gotta listen to the whole album though. If you just listen to that track, you're not gonna get it. That's true.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But that one I always absolutely loved, and I still love to this day.
Well, we are going. It is different, and that is a strength. It's actually a strength, and that's why I say it's a grower because it's different from the rest of the album. But stay tuned, folks. Somewhere down the road, me and Lee will do probably the last Knack album that did like triple wood. That did like nothing. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Just to say we listened to it.
That would be. I'd be cool with it.
Yeah. Because who was it we reviewed not long ago, and I was like, wow, he was cool for like a minute, and it didn't last. Can't remember. Who was that, Lee?
Who?
Somebody. We reviewed somebody, I was like, he lasted like, he was cool. Oh, Nelson, the band Nelson.
Oh.
He lasted for like one song.
Yeah.
And then everybody went back to school, and they're like, look at these dorks.
Yeah.
And it kind of happened to the Knack, but it was the music industry itself and the media that turned on them.
Yeah.
And that was it. And they were done.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad because there was talent in this group.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
But you still got to get the Knack. And in the end, I do really like Get the Knack. Lee likes it just a hair more. But
Yeah.
that's because he was more in his body in 1979 than I was.
Yeah.
And
maybe
that makes sense. But it's still a fantastic album. It's one of Kurt Cobain's favorite albums, by the way.
Huh.
Yeah. Makes sense. I do hear a little influence occasionally in Nirvana, like in a bar of music.
Huh.
In a bar, but not too much more than that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right.
Yeah, it was fun to do. We've been waiting to do this one a while, so I'm glad we did it. And,
all right. Take care, everybody.
Yes, viewers, before Lee tells you bye-bye, tell us.
Or after bye-bye.
We're curious. Yeah. Tell us.
What?
Tell us what you think of My Sharona versus
them.
Lucinda.
Yeah.
And The Monkey and Me. Is that the best track on the album?
Yeah,
right.
and I will give my vote that it is.
We got one.
Okay.
That's all it takes.
All right.
Thanks for having me again.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.